Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
1955, Operation Deep Freeze. This is just an expansion of High Jump, where more research bases are added to Antarctica. Fast forward a little more, 1958. NASA is established, followed by the proposal of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, and the implementation of it in 1961. The treaty basically puts Antarctica off limits to civilians with the exception of guided tours that are carefully supervised. In 1962, Operation Fishbowl takes place. Now this is where people start thinking that they found the firmament or dome during Operation High Jump or Operation Deep Freeze, because for some reason, they started firing nuclear missiles straight up, as if trying to mess with the firmament somehow. And not to mention the name of the project, Fishbowl, easily symbolic for the enclosed nature of our world.
While those do sound suspicious, the name Operation Fishbowl sounds like, hey, we're stuck in a glass dome, let's try to break out. I think it's not as nefarious as it sounds, but I'm also not a believer that we have a dome over us, that we live under a firmament. I think it's much more likely that if there was a firmament at one point, it's no longer there, and that's where the waters for the flood, the Great Flood, came from, if you believe in Scripture. I think if there's an actual firmament now, it's just the Van Allen radiation belt. That's what's keeping us here. That's what's creating this prison planet and keeping us from being able to leave. None of us can get through that radiation belt. In my eyes, that video right there is proof enough to show that we are on a spinning Earth. Whether it's a globe or a flat plane, it's spinning. So to say that we're on a stationary flat plane that's just constantly rising in altitude doesn't make any sense when you see video like that taken from stabilized consumer grade camera that anyone could get. That's definitive proof in my eyes that we're at least spinning.
The Earth could be much bigger than we thought. And you know what's really disturbing? I'll reveal it at the end. In recent years, there has been discussion about the Earth's actual shape, with some questioning whether it is spherical or flat. While some have suggested potential conspiracy theories exist, it's hypothesized that Earth could be much larger than we realize. The idea that only 7 continents exist seems limited. One proposal suggests Antarctica is actually a giant icy barrier hiding additional continents beyond. Hypothetically, if someone could traverse this frozen wall, they may discover 20 secret continents previously unknown. These mysterious lands have sparked ideas about prehistoric creatures, aliens, and advanced civilizations living there. Interestingly, one concept proposes the 7 continents we inhabit now are like a vast corporate farm owned and controlled by a small group of extremely wealthy families. These elites could originate from the enigmatic undiscovered continents. So, these are 2 very disturbing questions. Why do you think exploring Antarctica was banned? And do you know the truth that there is no real picture of the Earth? Every picture that's been released on Google or released from NASA is a 3D render.
I like the theory that there are more continents past the ice wall, just simply because it sounds interesting. It would be fascinating to find out that that were the truth. Until there's some evidence to point us in that direction, it's just wishful thinking in my mind. It would be awesome to find out that we've got these other continents and that the Earth is a lot bigger than what we thought, and there's a lot more to explore and check out. But at the same time, it would be kind of terrifying to find out that we've been lied to that extent, and that there's whole continents full of other civilizations that are likely aware of us. We're just not aware of them. So what was the purpose there, if that were to be the case?
There was a being standing there from me to you away, probably 4 foot. I could have leaned over and touched it with my hand. Good thing I didn't. Somebody from NASA told me it would have killed you. It did. The energy from it. It was 3.5 feet tall. It looked like a child, not like a gray alien you would think about. It was a little glowing, color of the moon, soft glow. 3.5 foot, looked like a 4-year-old child. Head and face was a little different. Definitely weren't human. Eyes were glowing red. They looked mechanical. When you look at them, they look like the little markers on a transfer truck. It had this triangle on its chest, glowing. I knew I was in trouble. The minute I saw it, now it's all happened so quick. I ran against that tree and I stopped myself. And I looked back and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I backed my back against a tree and I'm facing this thing. And I said, I surrender. I mean you no harm. I'm sorry. I just knew I was dead. And I heard this voice say, you don't understand. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help you.
You know, the guy could just have a natural, easygoing, trustworthy demeanor, but Chris Bledsoe, in my mind, seems so genuine. I find it hard to believe that he would be making this stuff up, as fantastical as it sounds. Very well could be some made-up story, and he's trying to get his 15 minutes of fame, but I feel like I have a fairly decent read on people whenever they're, let's say when they're lying for nefarious purposes. I can usually see through it. He just seems so genuine. I just wish the story was more believable.
Is it possible that we are, in fact, engaged in some type of prison planet where a fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional reptilian being who really rules the world is feeding off our guilt, anxiety, depression, negative emotions to fuel themselves off our stuff, and we are actually in this prison planet, and famous celebrities have made a deal with these reptilian people to say, I will give you my soul to feed off my negative emotions for perpetuity, but in return, you give me, every time I die, I come back to a different part of history, which is happening all at the same time. I come back and I am as famous and successful as I was in every generation. No, I know it's absurd, but I'm asking you, is there any truth to that?
It's the kind of stupid conspiracy theory nonsense that goes around on Reddit and right-wing websites and who knows God where else. And you don't want to be the guy who thinks this. We don't know anything. Could it be lizard people? It could.
Okay.
It's not. But just because you don't know the answer to something, you shouldn't make up a story so you have an answer. No answer is a much more respectable intellectual position than making up a story. So, Jesus, you can have that one, but not the lizard, Chris.
That is being so quickly dismissed by the guy who claims to have never heard of the World Economic Forum and doesn't know who Klaus Schwab is. He's a liar. He knows exactly what the WEF is and who Klaus Schwab is. So, you know, after that podcast he had with Roseanne where he pretty much outed himself as a shill, I don't see why anyone would go on his podcast and expect an honest conversation. And no, I don't believe that we're on a prison planet and that reptilians are feeding off of celebrity soul. But I would believe that before I believe that Bill Maher's being honest. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, I make a new one just like it every single day. It'd be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
Christopher Columbus didn't actually discover America. There is a theory that claims that Christopher Columbus was not among the first people to discover America, and that there were civilizations there years before he supposedly came across the land. Some people even go as far as to say that he wasn't even a real person, and that the whole story of him discovering these new lands was simply a cover-up for the previous civilizations that have been erased from history. It is thought that there were these huge castles and buildings in America before 1492, when he was said to have arrived. So the question is, how did they have the technology to build these structures while Columbus was sailing his ship around the world? Theorists also question where the 3 ships used by Christopher and his team are now, as they are not in any museums and are nowhere to be found. There's such a lack of evidence for the story of Christopher Columbus, yet is taught in our educational system. Theorists have brought to light how this seems like another way of covering up the advanced ancient civilizations. It really makes you wonder, if this is true, what are they trying to hide from us and why?
Now, they do have in a museum, because I Googled this, they do have a anchor that's supposedly from one of the 3 ships of Columbus. But again, even the article that I read said that it's supposedly from one of those ships. So there could be truth to this. I don't know. I wasn't around back then. So, and I think we've all pretty much determined that you can't really trust what you read in your history books. So who knows how much truth there is to this.
Yeah, if you're camping and you wake up and you see this, you should, I don't know, prey?
The guy didn't look too worried about it, did he? Don't go camping in the Everglades. This next clip is 4 minutes, but it is awesome. It is a 91-year-old lady describing the red-headed giants that used to live in the Lovelock Caves in Nevada.
Do you know that they say that that cave goes all the way to Emily?
No.
Really?
Hey.
Well, nobody's ever climbed all the way, but there's another great big cave up by Emily. It comes back this way, so that's the legend.
That's the legend. So I asked you just a moment ago, because we had this long talk, you lived here for years, 91 years old, God bless you. I said, do you believe the red-haired giant story of Lovelock Caves? And you're going to give me the answer.
Yes, I do. If you talk to BLM, they'll tell you it's a bunch of hokum. There was no red-headed Indians. If you talk to my Native American friends here in Lovelock, they will tell you their parents told about the Native Americans. They were cannibals. They came up from Death Valley, marked the trails, and dug holes in the trails, and then covered them up so the natives would fall in them, and then they would eat them. And then the cave they lived in the cave for a while and buried their people in the cave. They found a lot of mummies that had red hair and were over 7 feet tall. They were very tall.
Wow.
They found the mummies there, but if you go in the cave is all smoky inside. And my Indian friends say that they got tired of them killing their people, so they chased them into the cave, then built a big fire in front of that cave. Now the opening has been made a lot bigger. It was a lot smaller. When my folks first came here in 1945, the opening was much smaller, but they've made it.
Oh, even then it was smaller, right?
Well, so they opened it up, and they built a fire and smoked the Indians and killed them and buried them in the cave.
And,
I met, while I was working here at the museum, some people came from southern Utah that had been working on the highway between Nevada and Utah, and said they came into a big burial ground, and there were red-headed Indians in that burial ground, and the Indians, and anyway, they didn't tell anybody. They just put them back in the ground and left them, but they're still there. So there's been another people that have found them. The Indians are buried squatting down, the feet first, then down, and just their heads closest to the top of the ground.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And my folks have a ranch down in Lower Valley, and sometimes they saw the top of they would hear this whistling sound, and it was the wind blowing through the skulls, because the wind had blown away the dirt.
The top out.
So they were hearing those sounds. They found, my folks were plowing the field, and they found a big burial ground, and called the BLM to come down and find whatever they needed to do. And they sent a lady. She came down, took what she wanted, threw the rest away, and left.
Yep, never hear it again.
Never heard her again. They found some more burial. They had a ranch out at Upper Dixie Valley, and they found some more Indian stuff there. But not much.
Wow. Now, this is the legend that I heard, that, Indians go howl.
Uh-huh.
You know why?
Uh-uh.
Because the giants have 6-digit fingers and feet.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
And they go howl so that they could, look, I have 5 fingers. Yeah, that's what I heard.
No, I didn't
You
hear
hear
that.
Okay.
No.
And because you've been here since 45. And do you want to state your name for the video? Or
My name is Devoy Monk.
Okay.
I've lived here since 1945. I have a cousin that married a Paiute Indian lady.
And those are the ones that were smoked out the giants, right?
No.
Oh, that wasn't the Paiute.
The Paiutes were, yes.
Right.
Paiutes are from Lovelock.
Right.
And she had dark brown hair. She went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, or a week. When she came back, she had the reddest hair you've ever seen.
Wow.
So that red hair could be, they might have had natural red hair, or they might have been the elements that changed the red hair.
Oh, right. Yeah. Interesting, interesting. Well, fantastic. Really a chance meeting we had here in the parking lot, wasn't it? You know?
And your Dutch name is?
Brinkerhoff.
Brinkerhoff. Okay.
Yeah, real Dutch.
Or Dutch. Well, they said we came from Holland, but they say we came
Germany.
from Germany, but
Via
we
Holland.
moved to Holland when there was a religious revolution or something with the king, and they moved from there to Germany.
I could listen to this lady talk for years. I used to work maintenance in a nursing home, and the only reason I worked there for as many years as I did was because I loved talking to the residents. I could talk to the elderly forever. I think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But it's fascinating to hear a local depiction of someone who's lived in the area since 45, so you know she's heard these stories her entire life, and to hear handed down first-hand accounts of what happened to these giants. I think somebody needs to go digging in those caves. If they buried them in there, and we know where those caves are, we need to get digging and see if we can't find those bones and get those on the internet before the government comes in and starts squashing all the evidence.
We're out here fishing at. Get closer. You gotta get up there closer. Turn that way a little bit. We got a bear here. Poor thing's got a tub on its head. Oh, he's getting scared. Oh, trying to figure out how we're gonna get this tub off his head. Yeah, go a little faster, Brady. You gotta get in front of him. Oh, Brady, slow down. Oh.
I had to be on Brady.
I know.
Get it on.
Oh.
Hey, drunk.
It's just a baby bear here.
Come on, big guy.
Circle around, Brady. Circle around quick. Hurry, just get around him. Get back on the other side of him.
He almost got it off.
I know he did.
One more pull and I would have had it.
Oh.
You did a good job. You just got to do it one more time. Come on.
Get up there. Get up there. Get up there.
This way. Slow down.
Slow down.
No, slow down.
Slow down. Slow down. Way down.
Can't let him get on trouble. We'll make it walk.
Yeah, and we won't. Yeah, not only won't you, just don't want him crawling in here either. Once you get it up.
Keep coming.
Yep. Keep coming. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, go. We saved our little bear.
Good job, buddy. Head for
Swim
shore.
happy. This has been a night. Oh, guys.
I want to just make sure he makes it to shore.
Yeah.
I have to say this for the sake of YouTube and for the sake of keeping my channel. If you ever come across a bear with a bucket on its head, just leave it. Just let what's going to happen to the bear. Don't ever try to assist. It's a very, very, very bad idea. That situation could have got out of hand very quickly.
That's why the Nazis were studying mind control. And what the Nazis had settled on for mind control was that a person first needed to be malnourished. The second thing was they needed to have heavy metals. Aluminum was their one of choice at that time, deposited into their bodies. The third thing that they needed was to have negative stimulus, punishment if you don't do what we tell you to do. And then the fourth thing, repeat messaging. When you do those four things, what you create is a person who is now willing to suggestibility and willing to be controlled in their mind. In 1945, Allen Dulles brings 1,600 Nazi scientists into the United States. It's called Operation Paperclip. He clears all their records. He makes sure they avoid getting involved in the Nuremberg trials. All of them certainly would have been sentenced to death. He brought them into the United States, put them in our government, and gave them unlimited funding because he loved what they were doing with mind control. These scientists brought all the Nazi science into the United States. And so now you have rollout of the Nazi agenda in the United States and then starting to go globally because everybody is taking what the United States is doing as the way of the future. Those repeated messages that the Nazis were doing, those became commercials.
I know all of my viewers are fully aware that commercials and all this stuff is a great deal of it anyway is just propaganda. I would say they're still trying to pull this stuff off, but it's not as effective as it used to be. People are waking up.
Let me see your best moose impression.
Swimming in the water. Okay, can you please just hurry? Okay, thank you. Shoot. Hold on.
It's a bad time to be that short girl. Golly, don't be jumping in elevators, people. Well, I've seen like 3 videos in the past 6 months of somebody jumping up and down in an elevator and causing it to fall. Come on, people. Think about what you're doing.
You see, in the ancient tablets, there was a situation where the Atlantean civilization had spread around the entire planet. Atlantis was built by these Anunnaki people, according to the ancient tablets, not according to me. And these families had factions and they were fighting each other. They went to war against each other many times. And in one case, this one faction on one side of the family came against another. And because they lost the battle, they were banished, locked and stuck pretty much on Earth, and never to achieve space travel again. Over time, we have slowly regained our right to get back into space, and we now have done it. Obviously, in the last 100 years, we went from a horse, buggy, and carriage to putting remote control cars on Mars.
So is this saying that we're the descendants of the punished ones, and that's the only reason that we're here and don't have advanced technology and stuff is because we descended from the ones who lost the war? I haven't made it all the way through the Emerald Tablets yet, so I'm not sure if that's exactly what he's trying to say. But it would make sense because the victors write history. So it could be that that is true, and that's why so much of our history is lies and manipulation. But again, I haven't made it through the Emerald Tablets yet, so I'm not 100% sure that that's what he's trying to say. It just sounds like it.
It's Sunday. I have a new rabbit hole for you. In this castle in France, some researchers dug some holes. In the holes, they found some strange parts and a whole armored knight. But when they put the parts together, it formed a bike. Why is this weird? Well, take your phone out and Google when was the bicycle invented, and it will pull up some date in the 1800s from early to late, even on the Wikipedian. What's weird is we have these amazing bikes from the Renaissance paintings, and they were real. Welcome to the world of out-of-place artifacts, or parts. It gets way weirder. That is the Antikythera mechanism. It's the very first computer built in the 2nd century BC. It was found in a shipwreck. That top video is an x-ray of it. And then we have the London hammer. The hammer was found inside Cretaceous rock. Here's my favorite one. This one is, I don't even know what to call it. It's a wheel. The mine's in Ukraine. It's 300 million years old. And the mine is next to these things.
All this tells me is that the bicycle was not invented in 1817. It was reinvented in 1817. This is just more examples of technology that we thought we had come up with already being a thing in the past. We're slowly rediscovering things that we've lost. We're not reinventing anything. There are no new inventions. We're probably not the first or even the second advanced civilization that's been here. We'll probably, unfortunately, be wiped out before we reach any type of advanced technology that would be left over for the next civilization as they begin to advance and look into history and wonder about what came before them.
If you think flat earthers are crazy, you probably haven't heard this theory yet. You might need a flashlight because we're going deep on this one. Welcome to the Hollow Earth theory. While many conspiracy theories are born on the internet, this one has been a popular theory for centuries, with many authors writing books on the topic, including Admiral Richard Byrd, a U.S. Navy officer who went on an expedition in 1947 to fly over the South Pole. And what he saw on that mission sounds like something from a science fiction movie. He described traveling through an entrance down into the center of the Earth, where he found a self-sustaining ecosystem and encountered a race of humans that were far more evolved than we were. And they explained that they were disappointed in humanity's decision to use nuclear weapons. The species also used flying crafts described as what we would recognize as UFOs. And is it a coincidence that every time we have set off a nuclear bomb, there have been many UFO sightings close by? Some theories claim that Antarctica is where the first human race was born, and we were a far more evolved species, being able to build the pyramids and other structures that are still a mystery today. And when the asteroid came down that wiped out the dinosaurs, that species retreated into the Hollow Earth in order to survive. But due to the intense magnetic fields, Over time, they evolved into a species of reptilians that had the ability to shapeshift into human form, allowing them to interact with humans without being noticed. And some people really believe this. I even have a good friend I was having lunch with one day, and he swore the man standing next to us had shapeshifted and was reptilian. So I jokingly looked over and said, "You see a reptilian?" And my friend jumped out of his chair and literally ran off. If you have a conspiracy theory you want me to cover, drop a comment below.
I think that the reptilian thing is a little far-fetched. I've seen the videos that supposedly shows people's eyes twitching and stuff like that, that's supposed to show that they're a reptilian in disguise, and it always just looks like video artifacts to me. But on the hollow earth theory, I do have a lot of faith that Admiral Byrd was being honest whenever he told us what he experienced and what he wrote down in his personal journal, describing this experience. There would be no reason for him to assume that years later someone would read his personal journal. I feel like that lends a lot of credence to his depiction and what he claims to have discovered in Antarctica. It could just be that there was a specific singular location, like we've all seen the photos and video of the cave that they recently discovered that has its own atmosphere, that there's plants and wildlife and everything down in there. It could just be that whenever he got to Antarctica, he discovered a location like that, and there just happened to be a civilization that was living in this cave that had its own atmosphere, and maybe it was just a larger version of the one that we've recently discovered. It could just be that. Maybe it's not a full hollow earth with a vast array of land with millions and millions of people. You know, maybe it's a small civilization and they're just highly advanced because they live in this small area, and everyone has specialized, and out of a necessity, out of need, everyone has developed technological skills to help advance their civilization because they're small and they're in a very harsh climate or harsh environment. But I don't know. I'm just some guy on the internet. So I'm just thinking out loud here, and hopefully some of that made sense. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and call the video right there. That's the end of it for today. I hope you enjoyed these clips as much as I did. I hope you'll come back to see me tomorrow for the next one. Hope you have a great, safe, fantastic day. I will see you back here tomorrow.